What is up, guys, and welcome back to episode 3 of Couch to Coder. On this episode, we're going to be covering for loops. So I think the best way to demonstrate for loops and really to demonstrate anything is to start with a problem. So our problem for this episode is going to be given a list of grade percentages represented as integers, return a corresponding list of letter grades. So if you recall from episode 2, we have already set up a if statement series that we could use for something like this. So we have our grades list. If you are unfamiliar with list and variable types, go check out episode 0, the variable types episode. But we have our list of grades here, and we will go ahead and start building our loops. So what is a for loop? A for loop takes something like a list and it iterates element by element over this list and that element is usable within the loop. So let's just go ahead and start off by showing. So we'll say for grade in grades print grade. So this will actually go ahead and print the grade for each element in this list. So if we run that, we see 75, 85, 95, 87, 56, and so on and so forth, just as this does here. So the easiest way to think about a for loop in our case is to just think that you will go one by one in a list, and I will discuss how you can approach this in a little different manner as well. But for our case, right now, grading grades for loop. But this really doesn't do anything, right? We're not returning a corresponding list of letter grades or anything like that. It's just currently printing the grades. So let's go ahead and set up a corresponding list variable. So let's call this letter grades equals, and we'll build an empty list. And what we're going to want to do is every time once we figure out the letter grade, we're going to want to add to this empty list here what that letter grade is. So let's go ahead and just drag and drop from this over here right into our for loop. So you can see that copy and pasting's a little off. So just go ahead and fix these, fix our white space. So now it will take for each grade and it will translate what the letter grade is for each individual grade in this loop. So at the end of this, let's just print the letter grade. Boom. So 75 is a C, 85 is a B, 95 an A, and so on and so forth. So now we are printing the letter grades, but we are not returning a corresponding list of letter grades. So our last step here then is to actually just build that list. So we're going to do letter grades, and we haven't discussed this, but we're going to use a dot append, which is a function you can use on lists to essentially tack onto the end. So you will be able to see that the letter grade will be appended every time. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a nice print statement here and print that we'll go ahead and print the letter grade, or the number grade rather, and then we'll say is a, and then we'll just go ahead and do letter grade. So if we run this, we should get 75 is a C. 75 is a C, 85 is a B, 95 is an A. And so last thing we want to do then is actually print our developed list here. And you will see, I'll go ahead and take that out of the for loop. You will see that you get C, B, A, B, F, D. So if we were to print our grades here, you will see that they correspond in that manner. So that is simply the most basic form of a for loop. But for loops, you're not always as fortunate to get a nice defined problem where you are actually just iterating over a list. So what happens in a case where, say you aren't iterating over a list, you're iterating, say you want to iterate from 1 to 100. So let's say you want to know, let's say you want to add up every single number between 1 and 100. So let's go ahead and just write that out. So we want to return the sum of every integer between, or yeah, we'll say between 1 and 100. So basically 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. So we can use a for loop to do something like this as well. Change that to a markdown. So we're going to go ahead and say for, and we're going to use I as our index this time, or actually we'll just call it number. We'll say number in, and we're going to use this cool function called range. And essentially what range is range counts up from one number or from a 0 or from, I guess, the defining beginning to what you define. So for range of, we're going to start at 0 and we're going to want to go to 100. Let's just go ahead and print the number so that you can see exactly what's going on in this for loop. So you can see it counts 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 99. So as we discussed in a previous video, Python actually starts counting at 0. In the range function, you can set it to start counting at 1. So if we were to run this again, it starts at 1. But it is only going to count, essentially it's going to end up counting 1 behind. So if we want it to be 1 to 100, then we need to change this to 1 to 101. So you can see that now we have printed 1 to 100. So now we just need a new variable. We're going to call this our total. We're going to set it at 0, and we're going to say our total equals our total plus number. So what's going to happen is each time you're going to go 0 plus 1, 1 plus 2, 3 plus 3, so on and so forth. And then the last thing we're going to want to do is print our total, just to see exactly what's going on here. And you get 5,050 rather. So one last thing on this, and this is just a nice little syntax change that'll make it very simple. So you can use the plus equals operator, which is essentially saying that every time you are adding to this total number. So that is the exact same thing as saying our total is equal to our total plus number. Those two lines there are the exact same, but we will go ahead and just run it one more time to show you that you get the 5,050. Alrighty, so this is basics of for loops. I've shown you how you can do for loops with a range, which is essentially just a generated list, or a predetermined list. If you have any questions or concerns, you can leave them down in the comments below and I'll answer anything on for loops. But thank you for watching, and in the next episode we will be discussing while loops.